our boy Jeff Chu as one of those first orc players that we're going to be looking at here. So with real quick, at this event that he was at, which is the San Diego Classic, there was you know, a little twist in there that we're going to go over as well as we're talking about Jeff Chu at this event, because it actually entails some of Tactical Brigade that's going to be mentioned today, even though we're not going to be covering that list in itself. But we're going to talk about Jeff Chu. He gave me some notes. We actually did see him take this to Wet Coast as well. So you can check that video out where he went round by round. In this case, we didn't, because instead we have more of his personal thoughts about some of the exact games that he wanted to discuss, just two of the matchups, and then how his list looks going forward. So a little bit more concise and direct, but also appreciate it. And so let's take a look at his list real quick, as it's War Horde with Ghazghkull Thraka. So a lot of people, if you're new upcoming orc player, somebody returning to orcs, or somebody returning to 40k as a whole, and you're looking to what detachment to play and what to add to your army, I absolutely advise you play with Ghaz. He's worth his points. He's very fun and thematic. And Makari is the true warlord of that, because his 12-inch lethal aura is very important to the actual value that is Ghaz. So he has Ghaz, only 2 bodyguards though with Ghaz, 2 Painboys, 2 war bosses. Each war boss has an enhancement, one with Follow Me Lads, one with Cunning But Brutal, 2 20-man unit of boys, 2 trucks, a battle wagon with Ard case, 4 big shooters, def cannon, X cannon, a def roller, and then a lava. Another battle wagon with the identical loadout, followed by 2 5-man units of flash kits, 2 Gretchen, Storm Boys unit, and then 2 tank busters. So all the boys are inside of the wagons, keep them nice and safe until it's time to just vomit them out and really execute them on the wall. When he does play this list, it's very, very thin on units. You know, personally, how I feel as an orc player, right? A lot of us like to have a lot of trash, play MSU. Some people like to go thin on characters. Some people like to bring a lot of trucks, whatever it is. A lot of the time, you like to have a lot of units. That's one reason why Bully Boys and the Hunt struggle. Yet something like this does actually work, because it takes advantage of something else orcs like to do, which is on the wall execution, whether you're killing the enemy or not with Ghaz and his 12-inch lethal aura with both of these mobs making contact. It's about how much you tar pet them and don't let them, you know, end up scoring and the primary where they need to be tagging units that need to move around the battlefield and necessarily want to shoot and kill you in different ways, but they also punch hard enough that they can kill that front line, whatever threat it may be, in conjunction with Ghaz. So it's like just enough saturation of one certain kind of unit and data sheet, but it goes a long way when it's actually executed the right way. But in these matchups, we'll talk about how that actually ended up, whether it was super benefit for him or, you know, where he said they kind of struggled, because he did get a great score with 2 100s right off the bat. So shout out to him. We're going to look at those. Another thing to check out is our sponsor, the Baron of Dice. They make high quality custom dice. If you enjoy our content and want to show some love, check out the Baron of Dice custom dice, including WAAAGH Tactics official dice. To support us, use our discount code in the description for 5% off, because nobody likes taxes. And of course, shout out to Forge Fire Gaming. They offer competitive terrain sets that I use at home that comes pre-painted with slotted acrylic bases, allowing for easy building removal and measuring and alignment with it itself. Check it out in the description, and check out our paint competition. This month we have the Stompa, so you can get a set of those WAAAGH Tactic dice. As this event, as the twister that I wanted to put it in here, because I showed, you know, as we started the video, that there was a tactical list that was 4-1, and it was Ben Jurek from Art of War. So, you know, no one to sleep on. Ben Jurek here, you know. But it was very interesting as we looked at what he lost to in this matchup, and it was a mirror. It was a mirror to Jensen Goh, who was also playing Tactical Brigade, right? So I wanted to take a look at both of their lists real quick, just to give another, you know, look at how Tactical Brigade is going, because Ben ended up still going 4-1, as you can see, but he did lose his first game. And then Jensen still got 12th place because he went 3-0 the first day, and then the second day he ended up taking 2 losses. So they both ended up still in the top, you know, brackets up here. But very interesting to see that the Tactical Brigade list that we would be very interested as an orc community to look at, and they're playing right into each other, you know, one taking the other one down, and then the other one's still kind of struggling to get further. So, oops, I pulled a guy. So I want to pull up Ben's list first, just for the sake of it. So he said, "How do I play orcs?" I don't know. I don't know. So we have three beast bosses. That seems to be the way, right? Very, very reliable right there. So 3 units of, because if you're playing with any detachment that has access to sustain, beast bosses can get off when they need to get off. Especially they don't really rely on the wall necessarily. On the wall they go off, they're way better. And if you decide to use all these units on the wall, you can stack the Feel No Pain, the OC. That's very important where they do end up fighting and dying on the battlefield. The points of the enemy removing them. So they're 6 up, Feel No Pain plus the 5 up invul ends up having value on the wall. I'm just saying that they still can deliver and kill enemy, vehicles or monsters, whether it's not on the wall or not. Big Mech and Mega Armor with Mech Captain, of course, for the flash hits, and then triple shock attack gun. Quite character heavy. We got 7 characters here, but that's actually quite consistent for Tactical Brigade. 3 units of Snaggers, followed by just simply 1 5-man unit of Storm Boys, 5 trucks, a Burner Boy unit, a big unit of flash kits, 2 minimum size units of Gretchen, and then 3 tank busters. So it was really all just character missiles up on this field. And it was just all, I'm going to kill all the vehicles and monsters that there are, and anything in between still has just volume of damage and just the units in themselves and truck saturation. So not necessarily unsurprising or anything. Just the third unit of Snaggers is very, Snaggers is very uncommon. But of course, shout out to Manjurian and Art War, they're freaking awesome. But let's take a look at Jensen real quick as to what he ended up using that ended up, winning in this matchup. We have a beast boss with Mork's Cunning, followed by Big Mech and Mega Armor with Mech Captain. Big Mech with Shotgun get Tag Gun, and then Boss Snickra, for the uppy downy, giving orders and getting a bunch of secondary points. So it's really cool to see. And then we have the tech of Mech with the Gob Boomer. Really cool. Not too often that you bring that anymore. Yet he brought it, and he was actually having value from it. Obviously, going 3-1 on that first day. Let me pull these comments back up as I see you guys real quick. So yeah, he brought Mech with the Gob Boomer, right? A lot of the time people say they don't want to bring it. Of course, a lot of the time he's letting flash kits or something shoot out of the truck and they take advantage of firing deck. Then we have Zagrot Wartsnaga. You guys know I love Zagrot Wartsnaga. If you ever check out the Tactical Brigade video we made, I talk about why I love Zagrot in this detachment specifically, and the Mech Captain and the Boss Snickrot. So really interesting just to see it played at this high of a level play and do so well. A big brick of Beast Snagga Boys with that Beast Boss that we showed up here. So shout out to I'm having a brain fart right now. My boy, I'm having a brain fart. Who also ran the Stephen Paprine, where he also ran the Snaggas and the wagon. So that was awesome. First, so then three 5-man units of Storm Boys, 3 trucks, and then the wagon right there. 10-man unit of flash kits, a Gretchen unit, a 20-man unit of Gretchen, and then another minimum size unit of Gretchen, followed by 3 tank busters. All right, so 3 tank busters, 3 Gretchen, and flash kits, a wagon, 3 trucks, 3 Storm Boys. Nice to see all the Storm Boys. 20 Snaggas, Zod, Mech Captain, Boss Nickrat. So I'm really not sure how that game necessarily broke out or how that was into play. It could be very much so that if I had to guess the benefit of the doubt, it would be that Zagrot Wartsnaga ended up just tar pitting maybe the trucks and not allowing them to disembark or something weird like that a little bit early enough. Not maybe all the 20-man units of Boys and Snaggas was just enough to tar pit and then force him to dig himself out and then be exposed. Not really sure how that went, but very, very because it was a 99-point win there. So nothing to sleep on. And then Jensen ended up losing to Yanari and Astra Militarum, these other 2 matchups that he had. And then Ben ended up winning all of his games. So that was very interesting. But as for my boy Jeff was who ended up getting 7th place up here and getting 2 fat 100s. So let's take a look at his actual matchup. And you guys in the comments, let's see. We said, DG is pretty sweaty right now. Yeah, they're pretty tough. And yeah, double wagons out here. That's awesome. Let me get a whoa for Jank. What's up, homie? I love to see you. You think kill rigs would be on the rise with their ability to kill rhinos from range? Still too expensive. I don't think kill rigs are too expensive at all. I think kill rigs make them work. But you do need like a saturation of multiple kill rigs or like 2 kill rigs and a battle wagon or 2 kill rigs and a bunch of trucks. Then it comes down to like what detachment are you playing? The archetype being War Horde, where you're just kind of saturating them with what Snaggas and maybe Breakas and then it's kind of like very MSU heavy. So I'm not saying that's actually wrong. That there could be something interesting there, as that's something that's already been proven And as we look as to what there is to come with the new detachments and armies that we're going to be facing out here, something that Jeff and I talk about, and Jeff mentions at the end of when we look at his actual matchups, what he thinks about it, could make this actually a little bit more matchup as the archetypes that do require a saturation of MSU units, and the kill rig isn't too expensive to be included in that. The one example that I've seen people played it was having a brain fart. It was Jack Harpster versus John Lennon on Art of War that actually played a matchup where he ran kill rigs and trucks and actually showed and demonstrated how that would be. And that is like a saturation MSU. So there is kill rigs that can be used. I'm not sure if we'll, see them at necessarily at the top winning events, but I think you can run them and have success against, your local meta and matchups. And Jeff does mention how he thinks that would be an interesting thing too. But as for his games, let's take a look at his matchups real quick as he just was dominating with something that he's been running for a hot minute. So it says Adeptus Custodes. Believe we have Blade Camp Champion, Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle Jet Bike, Valerian, 2 Custodian Guards, 2 Alaris Terminators, 2 Big Bricks of Wardens, Venatari, Praetors, 2 Witch Seekers, Inquisitors, Inquisitor as allies. As everybody knows, this can be a tough matchup if you kind of slow play it necessarily where you allow them to take the initiative on you. So in this matchup, it's really important, as he's mentioned, where he makes contact with all his boys and Ghaz on the wand turn, and he threatens with the tank busters from inside the truck to shoot at the custodes to try to get them to either, which has happened, and many times what I hear from these people when they play games at events where they hear about tank busters and the tank busters are going to shoot at firing tech, and the wardens can be shot and they might pop their 4 feel no pain because they're scared of losing too many guys before they're hit with these bricks of 20-man units of boys. So even if it doesn't go off, that means you could kill a couple of wardens if they don't pop this. Not that it's likely, they do still get cover and such, but there's something that the enemy has to take into consideration. Nonetheless, it does come down to you bang it out in the middle and overrun them with the typical war horde conditions of fighting on death, Metal Carnage saturation with lethal sustain, and really just trading bodies for points and kind of holding them at the mid table. Jeff is used to doing this and putting down the primary when he does. So while you're banging it out in the middle, you're making sure you're still winning and flipping those objectives and slowly eroding them. So 20-20, using, when they don't have tanks, they can't really disembark you. So you can use your transports to kind of draw them out and get them punched into you. And then you take the initiative from them as well. So easier said than done, but Jeff has a lot of reps. Then he goes into his second matchup, where we go the Adeptus Sororitas. So we have Canonas, 2 Hospitalators, Morgan Fall, Sisters of Battle, 2 Emulators, 2 Castigators, Sacrosaints, 2 10-man units. I think those are actually 3 10-man units. I think those are actually pretty cool. Not super fan of Sisters, to be honest, as like I would ever play them or anything like that, but I don't hate the army, anything weird like that. It's just I think these are one of their coolest units. So whenever I see them on the table, I'm just a bias because they actually get crumping. Maybe that's what it is. Unit of Dominion, some Paragon war suits, and then 2 units of Hell. So one thing that I do know when I play Anti Sisters is, they're very, very fragile. They do like to do damage at mid range, which is also where orcs like to overwhelm you. Because by the time you're mid ranged out, you clear a wall at the proper timing, you make contact with them and pick up too much of their, their assets. They can't really ever punch you off, and it's kind of like overrunning system, which is another 100-point win there. So let's take a look at now Jeff's third matchup where he did actually end up take the loss, but he gives us some notes about it. So we have Tyranids Crusher Stampede. So this is a matchup that he actually has beaten in the past, but the enemy adapted and learned because that's what Tyranids do, right? After they eat some of the, take a crump and they eat some brain matter and they learn. So we have a Hive Tyrant, the Warlord, 1 unit of Biovores, 2 Exocrines, a Maliceptor, Neuro Gaunts, 3 Norn Emissaries, 2 Ripper Swarms, and then 2 Tyranno Fex. For the good old thick city right here. So as for his notes, he was saying the Tyranid player realized that his bug could actually withstand damage from the orcs outside of the wall, and that he doesn't do too much damage pretty much outside of the wall to any degree with this army, right? And it's pretty much true if you really look at it. The Ghaz and the 20 boys need to make contact on the wall to kill any and all of these monsters in any reliable way. There's not even a mech to fathom that the tank buster boys outside of the outside of firing deck would kill a monster of any sort. Of course, it's not getting +1 to wound in that case either, so it would already be very out of the question. But this is definitely not happening if it's if they're hitting on 5s in that degree as well. So the enemy realized, well, I could just put a couple monsters and assets forward, maybe just one Norn emissary, and you still have to do something and come to get it. So he said even then his dice were cold, and he was only able to kill one of the big bugs instead of killing all 3. So slowly over time, the enemy still had enough assets to kill him and swing that game. And so he said that was just a good call by the enemy. So 78-point loss there. And that's what I also noticed about running when you run something like this matchup where you're running the bricks and Ghazes. You need them all to activate, and you need your wall to actually be, the entire backbone of this. Otherwise, you don't do damage outside of that. You can't really prolong the game either. It comes down to, okay, we're here, turn 2 wall, let's get it, boom, get up in there. So the enemy realized that, didn't put all his assets forward, didn't allow for a death blow. And he was able to win that in the slow war of attrition. So then going into his 4th game, where he makes a comeback with a 90-point win, he goes into the Blood Angels. So we have Commander Dante, the Sanguinor, Apothecary, Captain with Jump Pack, and Lieutenant with Combi Weapon. We have an Intercessor Squad, 5 Devastators, 6 Inceptors, 5 Infiltrators, 3x3 Sanguinary Guard, 2 Vindicator, and a Caladius Assassin. A lot of the time, this comes down to they have to also use, how they're going to pop a battle wagon to any regard, right? A Vindicator might, but it just gets a random number of shots, not necessarily reliable in that case. So they're going to have to put most of their assets forward, even if they're killing those 120 man unit of boys. In Fight on Death, you're hurting or killing multiple of them if you have your characters in the right spot, and they can't pop Armor of Contempt. As for how it's the order of activation and how it works when they're being targeted with Fight on Death, even in that case. So their Sanguinary Guard will be taking crumpins in that case, just straight to the face. So ended up taking that with a 90-point win there. And then as for his 5th game, where he ended up getting another 97-point win, so another big W here, he went into the Death Guard. So he did have notes about this to a certain degree, saying about how this was a challenging matchup and that he was a little bit worried about it. So let's take a look at it real quick. He has Mortadion's Hammer with a Foul Blight Spawn, Lord of Contagion, Lord of Puck, Lord of Virulence, Tallyman, and Typhus. So it's called Mortarion's Hammer, but it doesn't have Mortarion, so that's cool. Big Brick of Plague Marines, a Chaos Rhino, Land Raider, three man bricks of Death Shroud Terminators, 3 floated Blight Stones with heavy Blight launchers, 3 Mephitic Blight Haulers. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot how to pronounce that. And then Poxwalkers. It just won 10 million of Poxwalk. So when you drop Morty, you get a lot more stuff, and you get a lot of these cheap transports. Sorry, not transports. Well, they're not transports, but you do get cheap transports in the Rhinos, I guess. But really, you get all these cheap armor hulls that are like T10, I believe. And they're have just enough damage. They spread their contagions. They have speed. They shoot. They fight to a certain degree. This one actually doesn't have the fighting capacity. Blight Launcher is pretty sick too, I guess, into big breaks of boys. That'd be pretty annoying. And then he has the Land Raider, followed by the Rhino, like I said. So as for how this actually played out, some of his notes that he gave to this game, he said the fact that he had the big brick of Foul Blight Spawn Plague Marines was a big problem, with the fact that there's no advance ending within 9 of them. Otherwise you activate their abilities, and in that case they also I'm pretty sure they fight first. I have to look back at that, but other than that, he said I really had to just ignore it entirely and push into the middle to kill most of his drones on the wall. He dropped his Death Shrouds, but even 6 of them killed his filled 20 boys with -1 to wound between their shooting and their fighting. Ultimately, he won out on primary, but it was a scary matchup for him nonetheless. He said that he thinks the Death Guard are going to be a very challenging matchup for orcs going forward, and he thinks that some of the drones might take some point increases as well. There might not be as many of them. He still thinks that orcs have play into them, and it's probably is still War Horde, but he thinks that nonetheless that it's going to be a matchup that you're going to have to think as for what can actually happen to your 20-man units of orc boys. So when we're looking at something that I personally really like, which is that 20-man unit of orc boy brick, can these really hold out during you know, what is to come with the, you know, the certain codexes. These guys have really good ability to focus down just about anything and eliminate it off the field. So the 20-man unit of Boyz ends up not really end up being a good trade. Each of these combos where it's 20 Boyz plus 2 characters and a battle wagon, you know, costs you over about 400 points. So it's a huge investment. And in that case, if you're not bringing them, it's, are you even bringing Ghaz? So if this archetype itself might not see as much play unless someone really commits to it, and even Jeff really says himself. So even though he thinks it has good plans just about everything else, and he's proven that as the enemies and codexes, whether it's power creep, whatever you guys want to call it, is true or not, the ability to focus down 20-man units of Boyz is going to be, you know, what's in question if you're paying for that entire package, right? It's not that the Painboy isn't valuable, because yes, we all agree that the Painboy is valuable. It's the fact that they're going to be able to focus down the packages as a whole, whether it's the battle wagon or the characters and the Boyz. So not that Jeff hates this. Of course, it still has play if you're running it in your league or your local place and RTTs. You're still going to have a good play into it. It still has that great ultimate wall that everybody loves to see, where you're using Boyz and Ghaz and cracking down on critical 5+s. But as we look at what is to come, can this archetype still find its way and still find play? But nonetheless, shout out to Jeff Jew for his comments and his conclusion as that he does think War Horde is where going to be the way is to play, but he thinks that it's also going to probably come down to you know, MSU kind of style and archetype. So with that being said, can we get a war for Jeff Jew and his great wall? If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!